Tom Tillis retiring from the Senate, Don Bacon retiring from the House. Are these bad signs for the Republicans' chances in the 2026 elections? And what about the 2025 elections, the New Jersey governor's race, the Virginia governor's race? Let's look into all of that. Welcome to Scrying Out Loud. My name is Trevor. First off, a huge thank you to everybody for liking, watching the videos, for commenting on the videos, for being subscribed to the channel. If you watch the videos but you're not subscribed to the channel, I'd really appreciate it if you'd subscribe. And if you've donated money to the channel through the Buy Me Coffee, Venmo, the super thanks, a huge, huge thank you. It's all greatly, greatly appreciated. I am offering a tarot class via my Patreon page. That'll be linked in the description of this video. The first video, so it'll be a series of videos and then a once a month live Zoom call where I'll answer questions live. And of course, I'll answer questions as we go as well. The outline to the course, along with the necessary, you just need a tarot deck and something to journal with. You can journal with your computer if you so wish. That's all outlined on the Patreon page. It's $29.99 a month. It'll last about 4 months. Do be aware that the cost will be presented in your own currency, and if you're using a mobile Apple product, the price might look different, so you might want to check it out on a different device. Okay, so anyhow, I'd love to have you in the class. The more people, the more inputs, the more ideas going back and forth, the better it'll all be. So, all right, let's jump into the elections that are going to happen this November. So in New Jersey, we have Mickey Sherrill, the Democrat, running against the Republican Jack. I scribbled his name too fast. Centinelli, something like that. Will Mickey Sherrill win? So this big, beautiful bill, I think, has just, as they're calling it, or the big, awful bill, as some are calling it. But the media is calling it the big, beautiful bill. So that's what I've been going with. Although, for the most part, the comments, Terry, from the media has been pretty negative. The approval for this bill is terrible. It's only like 30% of people actually want it passed, 60% don't. So I feel like this is a pivotal thing. It looks like it'll get through the Senate, or might have already gotten through the Senate by the time this gets uploaded. Um, I'll have to be reconciled with the House version. It does feel like something passes. So, but even if it doesn't, I feel like it's damaged Republicans. But okay, so 2025 New Jersey governor's race, Mickey Sherrill. What do we need to know about Mickey? Do you see the Eight of Pentacles, which is the apprentice card, working hard? Do you think that she might have some issues with fundraising? And I don't think that has anything to do with her. I just think it has to do with people are kind of tuned out, and these off-year governor's races are, I think, tricky. So we get the Seven of Cups. I think it's a mistake to think that this will be a walk in the park for the Democrat. I do think the Democrat wins. That's the feeling I'm getting, but I do think it's a mistake not to put all our effort into this race. It's very important. We get the Ace of Pentacles and the environment around. It's like it's a new financial reality about how to run elections in New Jersey. I do feel like she has some fundraising problems. Yeah, we get the Ten of Pentacles. I think it turns out fine in the end. But yeah, everybody's waiting. This hangman energy that's just in the country. It's a wait and see proposition. There's a lot of people that are discouraged by Democrats, more are discouraged by Republicans. Don't let the media fool you with those polls that they don't know how to read. Um, it does feel pretty good for her. Yeah, she's a strong candidate. Uh, that's why I think she ultimately wins. Uh, it's the wheel of fortune and the environment around. I think right now is probably, I think the fundraising picks up towards as we get closer to the election. And then we get newness with the Fool and the King of Wands. She's quite eloquent in what she's going to run on and speak about. And I think it's what the people of New Jersey want versus her opponent. And yeah, and I think she brings a different type of leadership than Governor Murphy, that's currently the governor. So I think it'd be wrong to think that this race is a cakewalk, but I do think she wins. But I think we need to be careful that there is this potential Seven of Cups energy around there where everybody thinks she's going to win and nobody's helping her win. She's certainly a strong leader and she will be a great adversary to the felon and the felon's like policy. Now, I don't know that the felon will be around, um, but opposing MAGA-like policy, she'll be very strong at that. She brings a freshness to it, and she's a little bit younger than Governor Murphy, I think, or appears younger. She's going to be a strong candidate, and ultimately, this sort of puts an end to this idea of uh, not an end. One of the big things that'll be the issue is, billionaires having say in our elections. So, and especially if the bill passes and it gives a big tax break, I think that'll be at front of, I think she'll run very strongly on making sure people are paying their fair share of taxes, of course, at a state level, right? 'Cause she'll be the governor. I do think there's some fundraising problems in the beginning. Uh, Everybody's waiting to see. That's why there's a fundraising problem. People are just waiting to see what's going to happen with the economy this summer. But she's very passionate, and I think the fates will turn in her favor. So it feels very much like she wins. I don't think it's particularly close, but it's still going to be an uphill battle. Because it's going to appear close for a while, and then I think it appears not close, and then there's a worry about people getting complacent. But everything's sort of pointing to her winning, running on women's rights, getting foreign money out of our election. These type of things are what's going to resonate with people. I think she will motivate some of the youth vote too, which will be important, especially in these off-year elections cycles. Okay, so what about Virginia? Virginia, we have Abigail Spanberger running against Winsome Earl Sears. So what do we need to know about Abigail Spanberger? Uh, We're going to try to attack her for her time in Congress. Uh, she's going to try to lead her opponent to Youngkin and to the felon. I think she too, when I say fundraising problems, it's not like they're not raising money, it's just they're not raising the amount of money they thought they would. It's like they don't meet their goals. I think that's the same issue for her as well. I think she outraises her Republican candidate or opponent. And same in New Jersey. I think even though I say there's fundraising problems, they still outraise the Republican. Super PACs will be an issue. They're going to attack her as being part of the deep state, but I don't think that works. You see the Hierophant and the Scrying Bowl, and I think that's just a symbol that she's going to, that's what the attack line is. She's, a Washington insider, so to speak. her team's very much thinking about how to approach this. It'll be a stark choice between the two of them, and I think that works in her favor with the Two of Swords. Yeah, we get Justice in the upper right. We'll have to go a few more cards, but I think people are going to choose balance and sanity over even the hint of the possibility of chaos. Um, yeah, there's definitely going to be some mis and disinformation about her voting record and when she's in Congress. Uh, it's kind of like the Republicans view this as a like a Waterloo type moment. You know, they pulled off a win 4 years ago with Youngkin. Um, of course, he was running against Terry McAuliffe, who was really the epitome of like the Clinton years of the Democratic Party, versus Mickey Sherrill and Abigail Spanberg aren't. So, I, but they're going to try to link them to that way of thinking. Um, the race will be run pretty positively with an outlook towards the future, preserving reproductive rights. Again, something around raising money for both of them, I think, is kind of an issue. Um, there's going to be a lot of this made of the difference between two, or the choice, or the lesser of two evils argument by some, which I think is a mistake. I think Spanberg will actually be a pretty good governor, but that's going to be what's in the ethos towards the end. She too is going to be quite an eloquent, maybe not speaker so much as just making eloquent points about where she wants to take the country and how she views the country as being in ill health. So they're currently, I think, still tweaking their message, running on helping the next generation and helping the country recover from the felon. Um, I do think Republicans are going to try to make this as a choice between two evils. But ultimately, I think things balance out and she wins. Although I think she'll win by like 10 points, it'll be closer than probably what it should be because there's going to be a lot of mis and disinformation. This will be a great case study for moving to 2026 on how to handle Republicans. I think they're going to do a good job at fighting the mis and disinformation, but there's going to be a lot of money poured in to try to defeat her. It's going to be a stark choice. It's like a choice that some people, like 10, 15% of the Virginians aren't going to want to, like they're choosing the lesser of the two evils is the way it's going to be sold as. I think she has some fundraising problems as well, but I think ultimately she pulls it out because she's right for the issues. The issues are right. She'll bring about a fiery new leadership. She'll have plenty of support, and this will be a new beginning because of the strength of standing up to the federal government versus capitulating to it like Youngkin is doing. So I do think Spamberger will win. Okay, we'll take another look at those as we get closer to it. So Tom Tillis not resigning, I'm sorry, saying he's not running for reelection in the North Carolina Senate race. I want to look at the North Carolina Senate race. So for the Democrats to win the Senate, you can go to find which races are up, right? There's 33 or 34, maybe possibly 35, because there's one in Ohio because of Vance. But in Rubio, there might be 35 races. So there's one in Florida because of Rubio. I don't know if he was already going to do it for reelection. I can't. But if you go and you look at the states where there are Senate races, there aren't many good chances for Democrats besides Maine, North Carolina, and then it gets a bit of a stretch. You have to go to like Alaska, Florida, Missouri, Ohio, and they need 4 seats to control the Senate. But The reason why I think Tillis resign or not running for reelection is important is, does he know something that we don't know? It's believed that his opponent will be Roy Cooper, the former governor, or would have been. I think Roy Cooper is running for Senate. He has to win the primary, of course, which won't be until next year. Uh, will Dems, let's just ask, will Dems win the North Carolina Senate? If they don't win the North Carolina Senate seat, they don't have a chance at winning the Senate. So always had a sense that they're going to. Yeah, we get the end of this dark cycle and the beginning of something new. So the Republicans have had that seat not for a super long time because I think Tillis defeated. Actually, I'm not sure. At one time, Kay Hagan was the senator. She's since passed. She defeated Elizabeth Dole in 2008. So they had it from 2008 to, I guess that'd be 2014. Yeah. So it's the end of a cycle. And the cycle that's ending is this people believing that Republicans are better for the economy, people believing that Republicans have their interests at heart. People are more interested in freedoms than ever before as they're seeing the assault on immigrants and the assault on healthcare rights and reproductive rights. We get wish fulfillment in the environment around. We get the Eight of Swords at the center. This is the Democratic identity crisis. This is why the New York mayor's race, mayoral primary was so interesting. Getting the youth to turn out is super important for Democrats. It's not as important as it used to be, but it's still super important. I think there's a little bit of a Democratic identity crisis here, especially if Roy Cooper's the nominee, just because he's older and he's an establishment. He's probably not going to create a huge amount of excitement amongst the youth, but the Republican nominee might do it for him. We get burdens. It's an uphill climb. It's not going to be, the Democrats aren't going to win the North Carolina Senate race by 10 points. They're just not. It's going to be close. I do think the Democrats will be seen as the more stable option. I think there's going to be problems with the economy or people perceived problems with the economy. People are very worried about where things are going. Now, I do think by this time the felon is gone, but the felon will very much be part of it. Motivation is going to be his biggest issue if he is the nominee. So, people want an end to the cycle, meaning Republicans in charge of all three branches. Democrats have a slight identity crisis, and the fact that they're not appealing to the youth. It's like Democrats really need to focus on the issues and just the issues. That's what motivates people to vote. Like, what are you going to do? Not why is the other person so bad? That's going to be tricky. And I think motivation's his biggest problem. Do you think we have stability wins at the end of the day and people will vote for freedoms? But I do think that he probably is going to win. It feels like he will. We get the end of this, people wanting an end of the House and the Senate and the White House being controlled by Republicans. It's too burdensome. The Democrats get their wish, but people are going to be feel like they don't have a seat at the table. if the Democrat, and I'm thinking it's Roy Cooper, if he can motivate them to feel like they're going to have a seat at the table, then he'll win a lot easier. Feels like he wins, but um, these midterm races are going to be close. They just are. We get the Seven of Cups, the illusion and delusion card, and then Judgment and a crossroads. But ultimately, we get the Sun, and there'll also be issues about what Republicans knew about the felon's health too. That'll be a big topic of discussion. So it feels like the Democrats win, but not by a lot. I think it'll be very close. Okay, what about the House of Representatives? Will the Democrats take back the House in 2026? So Don Bacon announced he's not running for reelection. He's from the Omaha district in Nebraska, which is a pretty good swing district. This district, Vice President Harris won it, while Don Bacon won the House seat. So, and Joe Biden won the district, and Don Bacon won then as well. So them losing Don Bacon, I think, is a huge blow, but I think he knows he can't win re-election. He always had close elections. There was a Democrat, I forget who she was, but it went back and forth between him. They were always running against each other for many years, until the last one, and there was a different Democrat. Will the Democrats win the House? So, I think we'll see large numbers of Republicans announcing they're not running for reelection in the House. This goes back to, I can't remember when that prediction came out, but it was several months ago. But it's these specific districts that Republicans are probably going to lose because they don't have the incumbent advantage anymore. And so name recognition is going to be an issue. Democrats need to make sure they nominate somebody that can excite people to go vote, especially in the states where there's no Senate race or governor's race in 2026. I've always seen them winning the House. And now I don't think it's like a landslide win in the sense of, they have a 60-seat majority or anything like that. Yeah, they win, and it'll be a healthy majority. It won't be like 3 seats like, the Republicans have now. It'll be more like 15 to 20, but it's not going to be bigger than that either. They got to find good candidates to run. That's the key with the Two of Cups. They've got to up their fundraising game. I think by this time that's going to be a little bit easier. Not taking money from billionaires is going to be an issue, but I don't really know what to say about that. I always have felt if the billionaire wants to sponsor a Democrat and help them win, I'm okay with it. As long as it doesn't influence policies. But that's going to be an issue. There's going to be some primaries about that. Taking money from Wall Street, et cetera. So the Democrats have to make it through the primaries unscathed by nominating, as many incumbents as they can. I know that might sound contradictory to what people want, but that is the way that they will get the biggest majority. And that's all I'm reading on. I'm not giving you my opinion on that. I'm just saying that that's the way to get the biggest majority, is to keep as many incumbents as they can. The Nine of Wands is about guardrails. So, and being a weary warrior, they're going to approach it as if they're the underdogs, which I think is good. They will have circles of support around money. And we get wish fulfillment. And we also get the greedy merchant. They'll be seen as putting up guardrails against MAGA. We get deceit and deception in the environment around. This will be the Republicans' old tricks of trying to deceive, mis and disinformation, using social media to spread lies. But ultimately, we get logic, and the Queen of Swords is holding the truth. So I do think the Democrats come out ahead. I think they're victorious as long as they approach it guardedly, which I think, this is probably not the most popular opinion on this channel, but I think it is true that if the Democrats primary a bunch of people and a bunch of incumbents lose in the primaries, I think then it's not so sure that the Democrats win. Um, Now, in some districts, it's not going to matter. The really blue districts are fine. Go ahead and primary those. But like, uh, you know, the more conservative districts, like the swing districts where we have incumbents like Marcy Kaptur, for example, that would be a terrible decision to try to primary her. The Republicans would certainly pick up that seat if she's not the nominee. Um, we get wish fulfillment, and we get giving and receiving of money. So I think they'll have the fundraising edge. Again, it's going to be about having good candidates that can speak passionately about the issues and that can also raise money. That's just where we are in this country. You need money to run for office. And we also need to make sure that we're up to the task of taking care of Republicans' dishonesty, deceit, voter suppressions, these type of activities. So yeah, and then people render judgment. What are they rendering judgment? They're saying we want to move forward, not in the same direction. We want things to be more balanced, which means divided government. People will worry about foreign influence, and it's inevitable that I think the Democrats win the House. I think it's somewhat the size of the majority is dependent on uh, how many incumbents the Democrats are able to keep. So anyhow, I'll be back with another reading soon. Thank you so much.